The Uninvited Gift, a chilling tale. A late-night delivery. Rain lashed the windows. Wind howled like a banshee. Inside his cramped apartment, John Miller shivered, clutching a mug of lukewarm coffee. He glanced at the clock. 2:13 a.m. Just the storm, he muttered, trying to ignore the prickling unease crawling up his spine. A thud from downstairs made him jump. Silence followed. He strained to listen, heart pounding. Another thud, this time louder, accompanied by a persistent buzzing. Someone was downstairs, ringing his doorbell. At this hour? Curiosity warred with fear. John crept towards the window, peering through the blinds. A lone figure, silhouetted against the flickering streetlight, stood on his doorstep. They were holding a large, oddly shaped package. John hesitated, then made his way downstairs, a growing sense of foreboding tightening his chest. He cautiously opened the door a crack, peering out at the stranger. The stranger was tall and gaunt, shrouded in a heavy, dark coat. Rain dripped from the wide brim of their hat, obscuring their face in shadows. They held the package out, its rough texture vaguely disturbing. "Delivery for Mr. John Miller?" the stranger rasped, their voice a low growl that sent chills down John's spine. John stared at the package, a sense of dread washing over him. He hadn't ordered anything, certainly not something that would arrive in the dead of night, delivered by a figure straight out of a nightmare. I think you have the wrong address," John stammered, his voice barely a whisper. The stranger chuckled, a dry, brittle sound. "Oh, I assure you, Mr. Miller, this is the right place. And this—" They thrust the package closer. "This is for you." John reluctantly took the package, its weight surprisingly heavy. The rough texture felt like coarse animal fur, sending a fresh wave of unease through him. He tried to peer past the stranger, hoping for some clue, some indication of who they were or what this package contained. But the stranger remained silent, their face still hidden in the shadows. "Thank you," John started, but the words died in his throat. The stranger was gone, vanished into the storm as if they were never there. The only evidence of their presence was the heavy package in John's trembling hands. He slammed the door shut and leaned against it, heart pounding. His gaze fell on the package. It was wrapped in thick brown twine, tied in a series of intricate knots. There was no sender's address, no label, no indication of its contents. Only a single word, scrawled in a spidery black ink on a piece of yellowed parchment, attached to the twine. Memento. John felt a cold sweat prickle his skin. Memento. A reminder of what and from whom? He carried the package to the kitchen table, setting it down gingerly as if it might explode. The silence in the apartment seemed to press in on him, punctuated only by the relentless drumming of the rain against the windows. He considered calling someone, the police maybe, but what would he tell them? That a shadowy figure delivered a mysterious package in the middle of the night? They'd think he was crazy. John stared at the package, his reflection staring back at him from the dark window pane. His reflection seemed distorted, unfamiliar, as if something sinister lurked beneath the surface. The package seemed to pulsate faintly, a trick of the light perhaps, but it sent a shiver down his spine. He couldn't leave it unopened, not now. The unknown gnawed at him, a relentless itch that demanded to be scratched. Hesitantly, he reached out and touched the rough twine, the strange texture sending a jolt of unease through him. With trembling hands, John began to untie the knots, each one more intricate than the last. He worked slowly, cautiously, as if disarming a bomb. As the last knot came undone, a musty, almost sweet odor wafted out from the package, making his stomach churn. He took a deep breath and peeled back the twine, revealing a wooden box beneath. The wood was dark, almost black, and carved with strange, intricate symbols that seemed to writhe and shift before his eyes. He ran his fingers over the carvings, the wood cold and strangely smooth beneath his touch. With a deep breath, John lifted the lid of the box. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, lay a human hand. It was severed at the wrist, pale and bloodless. The fingers curled into a claw. A silver ring adorned the ring finger, a skull with ruby eyes staring up at him. John recoiled in horror, a strangled cry escaping his lips. The hand seemed to twitch, the fingers flexing slightly as if reaching out from its velvet tomb. Panic surged through John. He stumbled back, knocking over his chair in his haste to get away. He wanted to scream, to run, but his legs felt like lead. His gaze remained fixed on the box, on the hand that now seemed to be moving more deliberately, the fingers stretching, reaching for him. The room began to spin. The air grew thick and heavy, filled with the cloying scent of decay. John felt a cold hand close around his throat, its grip vice-like, cutting off his air. He clawed at the hand, his vision blurring at the edges. As darkness closed in, he saw the figure from the doorway standing over him, a triumphant smirk on their shadowed face. The skull ring on the severed hand in the box seemed to gleam, the ruby eyes burning with a malevolent light. The last thing John saw before the darkness claimed him was the inscription on the inside of the box lid, etched in the same spidery black ink as the parchment. Until we meet again.
Subscribe to watch more.